I am going to show you how to create that effect, this effect, and then I'm going to show you how to do this, and then I'm going to also show you how to do this. And I'm also going to add in some quick tips and advice when working on these certain effects. So what I am talking about is cropping. I want to teach you how to crop your footage in DaVinci Resolve. If you do not have DaVinci Resolve and you want to follow along, go ahead and download the software. It is free, anybody can download it, and this is the easiest software to use for cropping out your footage. And I really want to just show you how to do it if you are trying to make some effects that your favorite YouTubers use or that you have seen in movies. And so if you are very new to DaVinci Resolve and or you're new to editing in general, don't worry about this being complicated. It is not complicated. It is very easy to do these edits. Just follow along and you'll get it. So first, grab your footage by opening up the media pool and then dragging that onto the timeline like so. Close out the media pool to allow more room on your timeline. And I would also recommend closing the mixer if you have this open, which you can do by clicking on the mixer tab in the top right corner. That can give you a little bit more room if you want it. So we have these effects over here, and you probably just have your piece of footage. So let's get started on the first effect. Now let me zoom in, which I can do by pressing the plus sign over here. It says zoom in when you hover over that. And I am going to make keyframes to animate that cropped out video footage that you saw. So first, I got to open up the inspector, which is in the top right corner. So click on that inspector right there, and then go to the cropping area, which is over here below the transform area. Okay. And what we're going to crop is the top part of the footage, so where his head and monitor is, and then we're going to crop out the bottom part of the footage, which is where his arm is and the bottom of the monitor. So first, make sure that your playhead is at the very beginning of the whole timeline. Okay, it's at 0. And then go ahead and click on the diamond, the gray diamond next to the crop top and crop bottom. Click on those two, and then go to 1 second, okay, around 1 second, doesn't have to be exact. And then click on those same diamonds, okay? Now, when you click on them, they turn red, as you can tell. And when that happens, they are selected or enabled. You have created keyframes to animate the crop top and crop bottom so that this will have movement, okay? And you can get to each keyframe by pressing on the arrow next to the red diamond icon, okay? So basically we want to do this. We want to have it all black, you know, and then we want to reveal the top and then reveal the bottom, okay? That's what we're aiming for. We're going to animate that. So what we need to do is crop the top by going halfway down, and then we're going to crop the bottom by going halfway up, okay? So make sure it's all black just like that, okay? And then once you have that done, go ahead and click on the arrow next to that red diamond. It will take you to the next keyframe, in this case, the last keyframe, all right? And then we're good to go, actually. It doesn't have to be changed because we're gonna reveal it at this point in time, and right now it's revealed, obviously. So go ahead and press home on your keyboard, and if you don't have that on your keyboard, well, sorry. No, I'm just kidding. No, but what you can do instead of doing that, if you don't have the button on your keyboard, is click on the 2 arrows with the line and it says go to previous edit. So click on that and it does the same thing. That's going to be easier than scrolling or scrubbing your playhead. It doesn't matter though, whichever one is better for you. Now go ahead and play that and watch it in action. It's pretty nice, very smooth, very cinematic, and it's just, you know, a cool little open to the video. Perfect. So that was easy, right? Not hard at all. So now we're going to do it at the end of this clip. Okay, so What you can do, by the way, what I just did there is I zoomed out. So I was zoomed in like this, but then I wanted to zoom out, and I wanted to zoom out because I wanted to see the whole clip, not just the portion of it. So I did Shift Z on my keyboard. You can do that to zoom out. Or what you can also do is click on this button right here, and it says full extent zoom, and it does the same thing, okay? So now scrub over to the end of your footage, okay? And you might have to zoom back in again if you lost that ability, which is okay. What you can also do instead of clicking on the plus sign, by the way, is you can press Alt on your keyboard. So press and hold that down, and then scrub up or scroll up with your middle mouse button like this. When you scroll up and hold Alt at the same time, it does the same thing. And in fact, it's easier and you can be more precise. But if you don't have that middle scrolling button, then you can't do it, unfortunately. Sorry. So let's go ahead and set more keyframes, because that's what we need to do to make that effect over on this side of the clip when we close it out, when we go from revealed to black, okay? So click on those diamonds once again to make them red, okay? And then go near the end of the footage and then click on those diamonds again to make them red again. Now we can click on the arrow, okay, just to make sure that those are selected and we didn't mess up. Okay, they're both red. Just make sure that you're at the last keyframe, and you will know that because there's not going to be a gray arrow to the right of the keyframe, all right? If there was a gray arrow, that would mean that you have one more keyframe to go to, just to make sure that you don't, do this at the wrong keyframe. I've done that plenty of times. So now we're going to crop the top, okay? So there's two ways of doing this. You can click on the gray dot and move it over, okay? Move that slider over. But you can be more precise by clicking and holding on the 0 and dragging your mouse to the right. So the same exact way, but just on the numbers instead, okay? And again, you can be more precise. It's slower this way, and it's just easier to get it all black. So there we go. Oops. Okay, there we go. Now, real quick. What I could have done instead was copy and pasted the numbers from before over to these numbers, because obviously we did this at the beginning of the other part, okay? So we can copy the number from crop top by double clicking on it, making sure that it's highlighted like it is now, pressing Control C on the keyboard, which does a copy, okay? And then you're going to click on the arrow and get to the last keyframe, and then double click on that number, make sure it's highlighted, and do Control V. Control V will paste it into there. So we're copying and pasting, and then make sure to press Enter, okay? And then you can do the same thing with the crop bottom. So double click, Control C, and then click on the arrows. And then when you're at the last keyframe, go ahead and double click that number again, and then do Control V, Enter, and boom, we have the same exact parameter as we did at the very beginning. And so it just can be easier or quicker to set those keyframes the same way. So now we can watch this in action. It's pretty nice, right? We're closing the video, we're ending it, the viewer knows that we're ending it, and it looks nice. I like it. Now, real quick, let me just let you know, if you wanted to keep that edit, you don't want to get rid of that edit, have to redo it by any means, but you want to watch this footage without the animation, what you can do is you can turn off the cropping. After you turn it off, you can turn it back on and get that crop back in action. You can have it enabled, okay? It's nice that you can disable the cropping and enable the cropping in case you want to make some color correction, during the animation, and it's going to be harder to do that when you see the black part right there. You can disable it, go into color, do your thing, make it, a little bit more colorful and add some brightness to it, okay? And then you can turn it back on, and all of that color animation or color stuff will be there. So it's cool that you can disable it and enable it. Okay, so moving on to making this, and this is easier to make actually. You could probably do it without my help, but I'll go over it anyway. So I'm going to duplicate this by simply pressing Control C and then Control V, copying and pasting. So copy and paste that over. And it's going to have those keyframe animations. So what we're going to do is press on this master reset button to reset that whole crop. And now we can recreate this, which is going to be very simple. All we have to do is crop the bottom. So go ahead and slide that lever over. Okay, and then slide the crop right over, since we want to crop the right side, and just get him in the corner there. So now he's all nice and tidy in the corner. One thing you might want to do here is simply put more footage next to the guy. Let's say you want to put, I don't know, this guy. Pretend like this is the same guy and he's on his laptop. So what we can do is crop the right part of this guy. Okay, or we could just like crop out the guy and then keep the laptop in there. And then we can move him over to the right. So now they're both in frame. That's something you could use this for. And this is very simple too. All you really do for that is you have to zoom in your footage by zooming it in like this, okay? So you're gonna scale it up essentially, and just keep in mind that the higher the resolution, the less zoom you have to do, and the lower the resolution, the more zoom you have to do. This is 1280 by 720, as you can tell right here. And if it was 1920 by 1080, which is full HD, you wouldn't have to zoom as much as I did here. And you're probably wondering, whoa, how did you center that? You didn't show me how to do that. Well, okay, that's okay. So I moved the position X and Y. You can tell that the standard numbers for all these different parameters is 0. That's the standard. What I did was I changed the center X to 998 and the Y to -500. So I moved the X position over to the right and the Y position down, okay? And so what I did was I, zoomed it in like you saw me do, all right? And then I just dragged the position X over to the right. I dragged my mouse over to the right. I clicked, hold, and dragged. And I just got him in frame, made sure that there's no black on the left or right. And then I dragged my mouse to the left to go into the negatives on the y-axis so I can move the footage down, and now he's center. Okay, so that's how you do that. Really simple. All right, so let's do a recap. Okay, so what we're gonna do is make that crop animation like we did before. So I'm gonna select a keyframe on the crop top and the crop bottom, and then I'm going to just move this down. Then I'm gonna move the bottom part up. Okay, so then it's in the center, or at least close to the center. And then I'm gonna go to like 1 second, that's good. Click on that keyframe again, and then like that. And what I can do is slide this over, but instead what I'm gonna do is double click that button, double click that number, and then click on 0, press 0 on the keyboard, press enter. And then I'm just gonna, for the sake of it, scroll this down so that you understand that you can do it both ways. I know I'm not using the right words to describe my stuff, but that's okay. So we made that, and now we're gonna go to the end of the footage here. Right about there is good. And then we're gonna make another keyframe on the crop top and crop bottom. And then I'm gonna go near the end. It doesn't have to be at the very end. And then I'm gonna make another keyframe. And then what I'm gonna do is drag that number up and move the footage down so that it's completely cropped out at the top of the screen, the top half of the screen. And then I'm going to make this completely black, which can be a little bit difficult at first. It might take some time to get it exactly the way you want it to be. The other way I could have done that is by copying the number from the first keyframe and pasting that into the last keyframe like so. But obviously, the bottom one needs to be copied over too. So I'm going to copy that one over, and then I'm going to go to the last keyframe and then paste that into there. And that's even quicker. And then what I want to do is I want to crop out his face. So what I can actually do now is just make a copy of this if I want to keep that edit, and then I'm going to paste it into here. And now that I have that pasted into there, I can reset the crop on this piece of footage, and that way I still have the other stuff. But now I want to crop out his face, right? So I'm going to basically move this up and whoa, that lagged. And now I'm gonna do the right part, the right side of the footage, just like that. Perfect, easy enough, right? And you know, I can also soften it. I didn't go over that, but you can soften the edge if you do not like this hard edge right here, that line. I understand if you don't like that. So you can go to the softness part in the cropping, and then you can soften that out. And of course, it reveals more of the footage. If you don't want that revealed, then just crop it out even more and just kind of get it to the way that you want it to be. And there we go, that's perfect, right? And now I'm going to fill his face to the screen like a lot of YouTubers would do. So you simply just gotta zoom it in as much as possible. This is 1280 by 720, so I gotta zoom it in quite a bit. And then I just gotta position it the way that I want to. And what I did not mention, but I do want to mention before the video ends, is the fact that you can move the footage in the viewer. You can click on this dot right here and then move it around. So if you're wondering how I got to there, this is how. Go to the drop down, okay, go to transform, click on that, make sure that it is highlighted, okay. Yours might already be selected. So if it is selected, click on this square and just make sure that it's highlighted, and then this white outline will show up if it is highlighted. And now click on this dot at the bottom here and then move it around like so, okay. You can get it positioned however you like, and it's a little bit easier to move it around. It might be a little sensitive for you still, but it's at least easier than moving two different numbers. Either way works. And while I'm in this viewer one, I might as well show you that you can also crop it from that viewer. So click on the drop down, click on crop, and then make sure it is highlighted. It automatically highlights when you click on a new one, okay? So once it's highlighted, you can go ahead and click on one of the dots on the left, right, top, or bottom, and then you can simply just drag it and it can crop it that way too. So the right, top, bottom, you know what I mean. And then you can kind of do it freely on the corner here. So there you go. That's the recap. 2 videos from now, I want to show you how to do exactly what I just did, but in the Fusion page. And the reason being is because there's actually certain things that you can do with the cropping mechanism in the Fusion page that you cannot do on the edit page. And I think it is pretty valuable to know. I am sure that you would want to use it. A lot of YouTubers use it. People in film editing use it. It looks weird, as you can tell, a lot different from before, but it's not too complicated once you do it over and over again and you get used to it. Cropping is very easy, and there's a lot of things you can do with it. I hope you all learned something. If you did, awesome. If not, if you're confused about something that I went over, then go ahead and ask me a question in the comments down below. I'll be happy to answer them to the best of my ability. I read all my comments, so don't be shy. If you have a question, I will answer. Don't think it's a stupid question, because I'm sure that somebody else has asked that already, okay? And they just didn't want to ask it themselves. So be sure to ask any questions. I hope what I did made sense. I tried to be as thorough as possible. In my next video, I am going to go over this toolbar. I know I mentioned it in a previous video and I never did that, but I will go over all of these different tools. I went over a few of them for the sake of cropping out footage because you use them for doing that. If you enjoyed, leave a like to support the channel. Subscribe down below as well to support the channel so I can keep on making these tutorials. If you have any friends or family that are learning DaVinci Resolve, and they want to get better at it, they're very new to the software, then go ahead and share to them this video and hopefully they can learn something as well. And without further ado, I will see you guys next time.